Hello everyone, I'm going to show you my fine keyer today. So that whole thing started because I was keying a spider web on a show, and that spider web on the green screen was very low in luminance and had very low contrast, so it was a nightmare to key. And in the end a colleague helped me to build a keyer from erode nodes. So the basic principle is that you take an erode node and you erode a lot. So depending on if you erode positive or negative, you can extend the dark areas or the bright areas. And then what you do, you minus that from the original image without any effects on it. And you can get a matte from that if you want to. So I built that whole thing into a node, which can do way more things, and it's just nicer. So right off the back, you see we get a very usable mask here. And let me show you the options here. First of all, we have show clean plate, so you can see what happens after all the eroding. So we can see here there's an effect happening, and then we have the erode size, which is really just the amount of the eroding that's happening, which you can control here. You can go negative. Sometimes on some images that works actually better to go negative. And then you have some choices here. First of all, a single erode. Right now I'm just using one erode node, and you can also use the inverse erode, which often gives a better result. So this will use two erode nodes. The first one, for example, has an erode value of 10, and the second one has the same erode value but negative, so minus 10. And this just gives better result in some cases. What you can also do is blur after the erode, and you can see with that we clean up some of that noise sometimes. That doesn't work always, but sometimes it does. Okay, after that we have the channels that the alpha is actually pulled from. Right now we're taking the red channel and taking the alpha from that. Then we have green, blue. So let's cycle through them. Here we have, I have to view the alpha. Green and blue and luminance. Why am I not seeing any difference here? Yeah, and luminance is just the image saturated down and then shuffled into the alpha. Then we can of course invert the alpha, and here you have the usual grade options to modify your alpha further. And I built these checkboxes, so in case if you change any values and you want to see before and after, you don't have to zero that out and then you forget what you put here. So you can just uncheck that black point slider and it will show you the before and after, which I found very useful to have. Okay, let me show you one more example. Here we have an image with very, very low contrast, but the fine keyer still manages to get some not yet usable, but on a good way alpha for that. So and the last thing I found out is that I have a plate here with objects that have very bright highlights, but there's a lot of dynamic range. So and let's say I want to grade down just the highlights, or you have an actor in front of a green screen and the light was just too strong and you want to reduce the strong highlights. Then what I would usually do is take a luminance keyer and then extract these highlights and create an alpha, and then use a grade node and grade everything down with that luminance keyer as a mask. So I can grade that down, but the problem is the luminance keyer is very sensitive, so it picks up a lot more than I wanted. I could of course modify that, but still it's going to take a while to make it good. So what I found out by accident is that I can use the fine keyer for that as well. And let's compare the results. The fine keyer completely saves that table, but still gives me a usable mask for just these bright areas. And it's more customizable than the luminance keyer. And lastly, I have one more image of that girl with very curly and fine hair. Just to show you that the fine keyer can even pull a key from that. On on footage it might be a little flickery, so you will have to use some of that blurring properties here probably, but it still works. It's not meant to be a final key, but you can mask out areas from here and add it on top of your key with a key mix to get a little better results. Or you could even take that here and then put make a grade node and add any color you want. So you could kind of do an additive keying with that. So if I now plus that on top of the original image here, you can see, like, yeah, this can be useful for keying, and you can kind of respill the result and plus it on top. Yeah, what also works, like I explained earlier, you can easily grade down highlights that are too strong and grade them down or give them a color. The fine key is very good for that. Okay, hope that's helpful. Have a nice day.